everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be doing the Try a Chapter tag with some fantasy titles that I have. So you guys know I have a ton of fantasy titles on my TBR. It definitely makes up the biggest chunk of books that I have that I still need to read. So I really want to try and whittle it down to ones that I'm really excited about. Now, I've never done this Try a Chapter tag video, but I think it's such a great idea because I feel like a good thing to practice, and I don't do it, but I definitely encourage that you do, is to try and read a chapter of each book before you actually buy it. That way you know, or at least you kind of have an inkling of how you're going to feel about the story. I know that one chapter doesn't really tell you a lot, but you can feel the writing style and see if it meshes with you. I feel like that's something that you'll know like right away if you don't like the writing style. So since I have so much fantasy right now, that was the genre that I wanted to start out with for this Try a Chapter thing. I know I'm not giving it that long. You can't do a lot with one chapter in a fantasy, but I've picked them pretty strategically. Some I think I probably will end up keeping, but others I'm kind of like meh about, so it's not just a pile of whatever. I thought about it, okay? So on my Goodreads, I have my TBR broken down by genre so then I can know how many books I own of a particular genre that I still need to read, and that's how I figured out that I didn't have a lot of contemporary. But with fantasy, I have 36 books that I own that I still need to read, and I don't know like how accurate that is. I try and keep up with it, but I think that I may have fallen behind a bit. So contrastingly, I only had 10 contemporaries. I think that number is definitely outdated now. I have to update it with all the books that I've hauled recently, but I have 8 titles here that I'm going to try out. They are all fantasy except one is a sci-fi, but I just wanted to throw it in here. First is The Light Between Worlds by Laura E. Weymouth. This is supposed to be kind of like a Narnia-esque story, but I've seen a few complaints that it's like way too similar to Narnia, so I don't know. Next is We Rule the Night by Eliza Bartlett. This is kind of a case with a lot of the fantasies. They start to sound the same. There's a lot of tropes that I've been noticing have been coming up a lot, so it's not that this isn't a story that interests me, because it really does, and all of these did. That's why I have them. It's just when I have so much and they all start to sound the same, it makes it very difficult, so I need to kind of whittle it down somehow. Next is Crown of Feathers by Nicki Preto. Stain by A.G. Howard. This is actually a retelling, but this one I really enjoyed the author's first trilogy. I think the reason I enjoyed it so much was because it was an Alice in Wonderland retelling, to be honest, because her second book I didn't mesh with at all, and I knew very quickly that I wasn't going to, so that's why I have this one on here. Beyond Darkened Shore by Jessica Leake. This one I keep on kind of wanting to unhaul, but then I look at the reviews and they're amazing, but there seems to be so many elements going on to it and so much mythology going into it, so I don't know how I'll really feel about it. Stolen Songbird by Danielle L. Jensen. This author actually has a new book coming out and I meant to pre-order it, but I feel like I am glad that I forgot to, because I haven't even read her first book yet, and I feel like I should do that before I pre-order her other ones. I know this deals with goblins, I believe, and it kind of seems like an older style YA fantasy, kind of more like how adult fantasies tend to be, but I haven't really heard too much about it, so I feel like I should try a chapter and see if it's for me. Next is Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. This is the sci-fi that I have here, and this is actually the author of Geekarella, which I thoroughly enjoyed, but sci-fi I tend to struggle with, so I think I should try a chapter of this since I have had it for a very long time. And finally is The Smoke Thieves by Sally Green. This seems like it could be a really cool new fantasy. It came out a little while ago and I haven't really heard too much about it, but for some reason it still has been intriguing me, so now I will try a chapter and then go from there. So I don't really know how this video is gonna work because I feel like it's gonna take me quite a bit to read a chapter of each of these, so I will just update you guys after each book, I guess. So I'm actually gonna kind of do this vlog style, but I am starting out with Heart of Iron. I will get the sci-fi out of the way now. I'm on page 5, the first chapter, or at least I'm only reading the first chapter from this person's perspective. The second chapter is from another perspective, but there's already a typo on page 5, which I know that stuff happens, but like on page 5? See, may the stars kept a study. That's quite unfortunate, but I'm gonna keep reading. So I finished the first chapter and I did really like it. It wasn't too much information, but I felt like I knew what was going on and was getting a feel for the world and the character whose perspective it was from, so I'm definitely going to keep this one. So I'm going to move on to the Smoke Thieves next. I'm not sure how long this first chapter is, but for some reason I have a feeling it might be a long one. So we've got multiple perspectives once again for this one, so I'm gonna start with the first perspective, and it also happens to be a 13-page chapter again. Another chapter down. This one was really, really cool. I didn't realize that the concept was demons and demon hunting, and you like catch these demons and then you try and capture their smoke and like sell it on the black market. That's super cool. And the one girl is like demon bait. So once again, I'm planning on keeping this one. I'm not doing very well getting books off of my TBR so far, but I'd rather them be good than get rid of a ton of books and have spent the money on them and not even want to read them. So I'm glad that I'm liking them so far. Now I'm going to move on to Stolen Songbird, and this one I would imagine wouldn't have too long of a first chapter, but we shall see. 16 pages for the first chapter, so I should be able to get this one done pretty quickly. So I was kind of feeling a little bit meh about this one for the first little bit, but the chapter did end on an interesting note, so I think I'm going to keep it in my maybe pile and probably read the second chapter at some point, or try and read it soon so then I can see if it's something that I will enjoy or if I will end up DNFing it. We are at the halfway point now, but next is Beyond a Darkened Shore by Jessica Leake. So this one, the first chapter is 9 pages, which is extremely doable. This is another one that I have mixed feelings on. Like, I liked it, but it was kind of confusing. There was a lot going on, but also not a lot going on. I like the fact that it was kind of a domestic scene that introduced me to the sisters, but there was a bit of info dumping, but I also didn't get a lot of information, so I'm gonna put this on my maybe pile. Next will be Stain by A.G. Howard. This first chapter is our longest yet at 22 pages, so better get reading. So the beginning of this one, I read the prologue as well, and the beginning of it is very, very info dumpy. It's definitely gonna go on my maybe pile because the writing is beautiful, but it's also a little bit convoluted and confusing, which is kind of the issue I had with her other book, but it does seem like such a cool concept for a story. Like, I love the light and dark thing, so I don't want to give up on it entirely. Next, I'm gonna go for Crown of Feathers by Nicki Preto. The first chapter for this one is 8 pages, so yay! So this book deals with animal magic, which I didn't expect, and I like the idea of animal magic, but usually it means that something bad is going to happen to an animal, and I don't like that at all. And the protagonist, it seems like, does like animals and really cares for them, but then she has someone that she talks to who doesn't really care for them that much, and I don't really like that. So I know it seems like such a silly reason, but it makes me so worried that something's gonna happen and it will very much upset me. So this one is also going to go on the maybe pile. I'm going to look at reviews and see if there's any like trigger warnings for animal abuse or anything like that. So I only have 2 more, so the next one I'm going for is We Rule the Night, and chapter 1 of this one is 12 pages long. So I'm definitely going to keep this one. I didn't know going into it, but the main character has prosthetic legs and is in a wheelchair in the beginning, and I love that representation, and it was a really cool first chapter. It kind of made me think of like World War II London air raid sort of thing, so I feel like it's kind of like historically inspired, or at least I got those vibes, but there's also dragons, which is cool. It kind of reads like a steampunk a little bit, but I think that I'm gonna keep this one. And finally is The Light Between Worlds. I had already started, but this first chapter is 8 pages long. So once again, I'm gonna keep this one. I think it seems really cool. I definitely get the Narnia inspiration, and I think I'd kind of have to go further into it to see if I think it's too much, but there are a couple of things happening here that I feel the need to point out. So first of all, you can see my bra, but the reason you can see my bra is because I'm wearing my freaking shirt backwards. Yep. To be fair, the front and the back of that shirt look exactly the same. It's just like really low cut because it's supposed to be the back. So yeah. I'm stupid. The first chapter begins in 1949, so it's kind of after everything's happened and she really wants to go back, and it made me really interested to see what her story is, where she came from, and if/when she'll be able to go back. So now that I'm done all of them, I'm gonna give you my final thoughts. So that took so long. I shouldn't be surprised because that was a lot of reading, but I managed to sort them into 2 piles. So I have some that are maybes, and those are the ones that I'm going to try and prioritize so then I can see if they are something that's for me or if I'll end up DNFing them. So in that pile, I have Crown of Feathers by Nicki Preto, Stain by A.G. Howard, Beyond a Darkened Shore by Jessica Leake, and Stolen Songbird by Danielle L. Jensen. And then the second pile are the ones that I'm definitely going to be keeping. It's kind of funny because I felt like these piles would have been the reverse, but they weren't. So in this pile I have The Light Between Worlds by Laura E. Weymouth, We Rule the Night by Claire Eliza Bartlett, The Smoke Thieves by Sally Green, and Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. So it was actually half and half. I have 4 that I'm definitely keeping and then 4 that are my maybes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's kind of different than anything that I've done before, but I've seen these videos around. I don't know if I've ever actually watched one, but I felt like it seemed like a fun idea. So please let me know if you would like me to do more of these in the future, because I think it would be very helpful for me. So if you guys want to see them, then that's even better. But if you guys have read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts on them, because especially for the maybes, that might help me to make a decision. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to click that subscribe button and then click that bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post new videos. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!